Watching. All right, I'm finally on. I can see comments. Let's go ahead and turn her off. Oh, I shouldn't say turn her off. Oof. Hmm. Hmm. All right. Hi guys. What's going on? You know what I should need right now? I should need a fat Philly Greg iPad stand. Because I'm just kind of milling around here in the middle of the shop. Let's see here. Hmm. Hmm. Well, let's think about this logically, guys. Like, where would I put an iPad stand? Huh. Do that. I don't particularly want to do that. Well, I can just hold it like this. So what's going on, guys? We're doing a trip update, and it's been a rough 3 days. Nothing bad. Made money, so I go ahead and bop that cherry real quick. It wasn't bad at all. I don't know why. I woke up Monday around 10 a.m. and essentially it worked out, did everything I was supposed to do during the day, all the office work stuff. And then, I don't know why, I just couldn't sleep Monday night. Not because I was nervous, just couldn't sleep. Probably because I was trying to go to bed early and I was awake. Then I watched movies, then couldn't sleep. It was too active. So I ended up staying awake all night Monday. And then my buddy, Lycan36, he drove me to Biloxi. Or no, excuse me, he didn't drive me to Biloxi. He drove me to Texas, right on the Texas line. One of my subscribers has a lake house there and ended up, you know, staying there that night. So I was supposed to sleep in the thing. I slept for about an hour. And then when we got there, it was like 10:30 at night, and we ended up staying to 6:30 in the morning. So no, yeah, 6:20 or 6:17 in the morning we stayed up, went to bed, got up at 10:30 in the morning. So now I'm at, Tuesday, midday, I've had 5 hours of sleep. So after doing all that, get to Bossier City, Horseshoe, and I want to say, guys, like, there is an exponential amount of, how you say, like, Bossier City is one of those places, like Shreveport, you would never want to walk the streets of Shreveport because you just die, man. It's just a rough place. Like, it's the hood. But I will say this, like, man, it is the best casino, man. The music is thumping. Like, I came into Prince, Purple Rain, then Nelly, then Biggie, then, like, Tyler Childers. Like, the music selection there is amazing. And they have the $1 Million Wall. It's just such a good place. And if you're, like, if you're sitting here trying to have a good time, like, they're accommodating. I never see a host though. 100,000, 50,000, 20,000, 10,000, $15,000 bankrolls I've gone into Bossier City, and not one host has ever walked out and said, "Hey, what's going on?" So, which is kind of funny because in a place like Bossier, I would do something, but then, "Hey, what's going on, Magic Aces?" But there's never a host. So I don't know what's the deal with that. And you go over to like Harrah's River Valley or Valley River in Cherokee, and those guys, you gotta beat them off with a stick. They're over here just like, can I get anything for you? I'm like, no, no, I'm fine. And so that was one of those things that, for me, really took the cake for Bossier. I love me some Horseshoe. And on top of that, you can't beat a $10 table, $10,000 max bet, 100x odds. And today was even a little different. I think I didn't even know the max bet. I didn't even look at it because I knew it was going to be 10,000 minimum. But it was a $15 table, and it was funny because we got there, it was around 2, 3 p.m., something like that, and they had a table that was stacked, packed, and ready to rack. And when we were leaving at 9 o'clock at night on a Tuesday night, yeah, because today's Wednesday, today's Thursday. So on a Wednesday night, 9 o'clock, they were opening up. They already had a second table open, and they were opening up a third table. So it could be because spring breaks out and parents are just like going crazy. I have no idea. And if you're on the Discord, I told you guys, hey, one shooter has rolled, and I'm up $1,100. And you're like, well, DGE system can't make $1,100 off one shooter. Well, in actuality, and it's I should have said this and explained it a little bit more. It has a lot to do with the fact that it was the perfect storm in which DG to make $1,100. And the reason why I say that is this is how I'll go into it. The guy that was shooting was the oldest gentleman I've ever seen playing craps. He was 92 years old. And he said he'd been playing craps over 70 years. Now, regardless of what his strategy could be, regardless of what it is, you got to tip your hat. He was deaf, couldn't hear a damn thing. Had a little breathing, nose thing in the back. But you got to respect 70 years of craps playing. I couldn't even imagine. That's me times 6. Yeah, you take my experience, times it by 6, and I'll be a little bit over 70 years. And the fact that this man was standing up and he rolled, oddly enough, this guy, in the duration I was there, which was about 6 hours, he rolled the ATS twice and the tall once. So, pretty sick, actually. And it's kind of cool because a lot of people were commenting on his dice throws, and I was like, it doesn't really matter to me. However, he took them like this, and he just flicked them like that. And that was really cool, like how he did that. To me, when a dice influencer, and he'd be a dice influencer, it'd just be like age, 70 years of playing craps is pretty insane to start with. But he just, pop, pop, pop. And I mean, say what you will, it could have been a great day for him, but I mean, the people around the craps tables, like he's been here since 9 a.m., he's killing it. And the fact that in 3 orbits, this man rolled 3 times, and before I had to get to my $1,100 roll, in 3 times, he rolled the ATS once. The second orbit, he rolled the ATS twice. The third orbit, he rolled it, he rolled the tall. So you're talking about insane. Payouts are going everywhere. People are racking up. It's pretty good. Everyone's pretty happy. And believe it or not, I almost got into some trouble. Okay, so let's just go into it. So how did I make $1,100 off the first shooter? Well, I get there, kind of an odd thing, because usually you can go to the cage with over $10,000. They'll give you chips at the cage. This time they weren't. They're like, and I was like, hey, I took $20,000. Is it okay if I get chips here? They're like, no, go to the table. And the table's packed. A cool thing that you could say from that is I kind of did a slick thing that could help you guys in terms of getting to a table or getting priority at a table. And so I was sitting, if you're in Shreveport and Bossier City, the craps table is like in the back right, not the other ones, but the one that's like right next to the pillar on the other side. And long story short, I saw the pit kind of milling around, all the little stations they got there. And I was sitting at the Ultimate Texas Hold'em table. It was empty. And in saying that, when I got there, I saw him. I was, hey, boss. I can't remember his name now, but I guess, hey, I got a pretty sizable buy-in. Are they going to open up another table, or is there a list I can get on? And I was kind of playing dumb a little bit because he's like, well, how much are you coming in for? And I was like, well, I'm coming in for $20,000. And he said, you will be the next person on the table. It was really cool because he transitioned, every 30 minutes, they're going to transition everybody. So in 30 minutes, the new guy came in, and basically they're just like, hey, this guy sitting right there with his buddy, like he's the next one on the table. All these people walking around, doesn't matter, he's walking the table, and they said he's got $20,000 he wants to buy into. So it was a little bit, sup Dave, sup Magic, sup Duracell. It was kind of funny because in that instance, that is a little bit of like alleviating a problem, because I was able to sit down at that table. I was able to enjoy kind of sitting talking to Bobby. I went there to meet Bobby, and so we're talking a little bit. It says, hey man, it's gonna be all good. We're gonna have a good session. We finally get on the table. Believe it or not, some spring break kids. I don't even think about that. Which, I mean, I was that age playing craps, but at the same time, I never thought about spring break being a Bossier City thing. What's going on? What was this? G-Dub, Texas. Howdy, boys. I was just in Livingston, Texas. And that kind of buying in for $20,000. So we got on the table. 2 of the kids bust out. I don't know, doing however what. So me and Bobby get right there into the hook. It would be the number 1 and number 2 seats, which I kind of like. I forgot my glasses. Bobby, mail me my glasses. So I was like, dang, dude, I'm going to be like, it's so funny because, like, everyone, doesn't matter how confident you are in your strategy. Everyone wants to sit here and be like, hey, I want to see the dice. And, basically I throw the dice. I can't read them. So I'm just like, well, this is. And Shreveport's a little bit bad about not really calling out. Stick people in Shreveport are amazing dealers, amazing people. Like I really like the attitude and the dealers there. But man, Stick usually doesn't go like 211, like need a 9 easy, like nothing like not aces, not ace deuce, just for truce, like none of that stuff. Like and so I was like, gosh, man, that's not really the best part, but end of the day, you're just like, well, we'll sit here and make it happen. So it was a little bit, a couple of times where I'd like make it a sizable bet, like a 156 and 8 working, and it hit at 8, and I don't even know what they hit. I'm like, is it 7? Is it 8? Am I losing money? Am I winning money? What is going on? And you just don't know. And so that was a little bit like, come on, guys. But the first shooter, $1,100 in one shooter. Well, the man that I mentioned, the 92-year-old, 70 years of craps playing player who had been there at 9 a.m. Took him about 15, 20 minutes to get my count, 2,500 counting, and get all that on the table. They're rolling while we're doing this. They're not stopping the gameplay, which I really like. The big draw, or the big good thing about that is like a lot of times when you buy in for sizable amounts, they'll say, hey, you only get basically like $200, $300, $500 loan, so you can keep playing. And usually that's, like, hey, we want to get you involved as quick as possible, X, Y, and Z. I opt more to not do that. And the reason why is because when you do stuff like that, I can basically sit for 20 minutes and kind of watch the table, watch a couple shooters, do X, Y, and Z. And so in the time it took 20 minutes to get to that point, then came that 70-year, 92-year-old craps player. And so I was ready to get involved. And first point 8 means nothing to me. I didn't work the 6 and 8 come out because I want to see double sevens. I don't know what the table's doing. I've only been there for like 15, 20 minutes. And so from there, he makes the 8 point. Like, I'm like, cool, not a big deal. Nothing's happening. I didn't lose anything, didn't make anything. Second point was a 10. I was like, oh, okay, cool, 10. We're being gentle, guys, gentle. So I think we had like a $10 odds on a 10, like a don't for a 10. Hits it, not a big deal. Let's flip it to a $15 don't. Boom, come out 11, not a big deal. 10.25. Let's put a $30 don't. Points 10. I'm like, whoa, second 10, huh? The third 10 rolled, second 10. All right, let's just put like another 20 bucks on it, 30, 20 bucks. Boom, 10. And he's rolling other numbers as he's going along. And I'm like, oh man. I was like, all right. I think it got to the point where I think the next point was like a 65 don't. And hit 11, yo. I was like, dang, dude, like, yo, 11, that's kind of, ugh. And then it was an 8, and I already basically kissed that 240 by, and I was like, well, it's an 8. I already know he's going to hit that 8. Boom, hit the 8. And, right when you get to that $500 level, you're just like, well, dang, dude, like, 240 on, he's rolled, 3 10 points, 2 8 points, and now the point is off, and you're like, I really don't like having this spot of being on 240 or $500, $1,000 on the don't. It's going old school craps. And the reason why is like, obviously he's rolled 3 10 points and 2 8 points. Like that 7 is barreling down your way like a locomotive. And long story short, yo 11, I was like, God. I think I put 500 on the don't, or 240, 500, somewhere like that. Don't worry, it gets worse, guys. He rolls a 10 again. Now, at this point, you're like, okay, he's rolled 6 10s. I need to start doing at least $50, behind the 10, regardless of what I'm doing with the anti-fire bet and the point system. The 10 is now coming due. And I'm like, well, the points 10 is perfect. I can put $50 essentially on the 10 on the don't pass odds because it's less than the initial bet. It doesn't matter. You can pay half. You can pay less at Shreveport. So I was like, this is amazing. Boom, 10. Man rolled 4 10 points and 2 8 points. Now I can say, and not having a 7 any come out. So I know this. I had $515 on the don't pass line when another 10 is rolled. Now to put this in perspective, he has rolled 8 10s. And he is on like his 6th point, which is a 10, which is like the 5th 10 point. Oh, I'll jiggle the thing a little bit. Hold on, I gotta check the camera to make sure I didn't do it. And Bobby, if you're watching, he's probably not. He's probably sleeping because I just destroyed him. Not drinking, but keeping him up. But, just a little bit of shaking. So, he sits here, and I'm like, he came back on a 10. Now at this point, not I think eight tens have been thrown, and maybe nine tens. Who knows? But as I sat here and started double bankrolling, so I'm doing an anti-fire bet that just happens to be tens, and that's rolling in a couple of stabs on odds that has to be compounded back into the 10 for don't odds. Then I sat here and I was like, well, the lay bet gambit's gone. So I went 50, 150, and then it had to be like 500, lost that. And so when the point became a 10, which was the fifth 10 point. So he's rolled 4 tens, 2 8 points. We're on the 7th point, and the 7th point's a 10 again. And it's like the 8th or 9th 10 that he's rolled. And I'm like, okay, well, the 10 got swapped again, so that needs to be 1,500 lay behind the 10 to do the lay 10 method. And I'm like, okay, well, I don't have to do that. I can just put odds on it because it's 100x odds in Bossier. That's why I love Bossier so much, Bossier City in Louisiana. Well, I was like, well, 1,500, 1,500 odds, and I got 5, 15, 5, 10, something like that on the DP. Just a flat contract bet. And you could have seen like what's his name, Bobby, just sitting here. He didn't even look at it. He's like, I'm not looking away. He had $200. He was conservative. He did a $1,700 bankroll. And how he did it, I think at that point, mind you, I have 515, 510 plus 1,500 odds, so basically $2,000 into this, and he's got 200. And it goes to show you the difference in little stabs, X, Y, and Z, building it over time. So in the difference between conservative DG with a smaller bankroll at $1,700 and the first shooter, this is the very first shooter that I'm playing and he's playing. And I'm over here at $2,000 action on the don't, essentially. That shows you the difference of, I guess technically I do have 10x his bankroll, because I have $20,000, he has $17,000. He has $1,700, but you understand that that's the disparity between the same system doing the same things, just at different action levels, revolving over time and expanding those bets. So you got $200 versus 510 plus 1,500 odds. Shows you that getting aggressive too early can really, if you don't have the bankroll to facilitate that, can really cause havoc on a lot of smaller bankrolls. So in that moment, and this is where, it was a learning lesson for everybody, but in that moment, I'm sitting here, I'm like, he is on his 7th point. He has rolled 9 tens. The 7th or 8th point is a 10. This is what I was telling people. I was like, this is a golden opportunity for anybody. And even Bobby, even Zach kind of talking to me, when they're doing their thing, I'm like, listen, guys, he's like, man, this guy is deadly. I was like, he's not deadly, okay? He's not. He's a shooter, and it's math, just like anything else. Because last time I went out and played with Dale, I kind of got a little squeaky with myself just because I'm like, hey, math does not lie. Math does not lie. Math does not lie. And so I'm like, this is the best position to be in. I'm looking for these scenarios, these crazy variances where this is outside the norm of standard craps play. So in that moment, I was like, okay, you got 510, I think 510, 515. Bobby, when he maxes in or he comments on the video, he'd probably tell you. And I had $15 odds on that, and I was like $1,500 odds on it. And I was like, you know what? This is the time. And this is all in the conversation with him because he's not looking. I was like, this is the time to take stabs. This is that time. You want a time? This is the best time. And these kind of conditions don't happen very often, especially just in the sequence of it happening. And I was like, and then you got to understand that I'm taking now a stab at such a later level in the gambit that it's giving me a lot better implied odds while doing it. So in saying that, I sat here and was like, well, this is the time. So instead of having 510, 515 on the DP and 1,500 odds, I had 510, 515 on the DP, and I made it to $3,000 odds. Savvy? So, I mean, technically speaking, I could have made it $50,000. But you see where I'm going with this. I'm just like, man, I juiced it an extra $1,500. Now, in that stop, pause, hold on, let me explain. When I told Bobby, I was like, okay, I'm supposed to be at 510, 515, and $1,500 odds. That's where I'm at, okay? I'm going to increase the odd bet to $3,000. However, in saying that, If I lose to this 10, this is like me talking to him. If I lose and he makes this 10, that 1500 juice got put into it for a stab. You can't at that level roll that in because you're going to lose your runway quick. And so, and then you have to start understanding, like, okay, what if he makes that 10 points? So he's at like 8, 9, or 10, 10s being rolled. And now you're like, well, the possibility of rolling that 7 is really likely, and you're going to put, $5,000 on a don't after a missed 10, and then they're going to laugh at you when that dude rolls a 7, probably 16 sevens in a row, and clacks your DP. So you got to realize, like, okay, I got to not only survive him making the 10 point, but also survive him rolling a 7 off the 10 point and potentially coming back to like an 8 point. So you're talking about hits the 10 for the 5th made point 10, then rolls a come out 7 and comes to an 8, which you're like, oh my God. So, just like, sometimes ace deuce happens and we all get paid and be happy, like I did with Dale, like 2 weeks earlier, a week earlier in River Valley, and I had $3,260 on the don't. He rolls ace 2 deuce, or, ace 2 3, and, you see here, it can go bad too. So that was my mindset, and that's why when talking to him, I'm like, hey, we're going to take these $15 and we're going to pop it back out, and or $1,500. And if I lose this $1,500 that was a stab is not integrated into the loss program of what I was doing, and that's kind of a crucial thing. And literally, while I explain this in like 20 seconds speed yelling, because I'm trying to explain to him that, like, hey, this is what the plan is, this is what I'm doing, this is what this guy is doing. And this 92-year-old is at this point, just to let y'all know, he might have only made 8 points and 10 points, but he's already rolled the ATS. And that's a really good indication when talking to people that, hey, just because a guy, if you're a don't player and a guy's killing the ATS and making a tons of points, it's not always a correlative thing to you losing money. And the reason why I say that is I've had a guy roll for an hour on me, but he only made 3 points. So you got to think I'm hitting on the first point and then turning off all my bets and just riding the don't. So at 3 points, I'm just sitting for 52 minutes with like a $100 don't or a $60 don't, and that's it. So it's not just like everyone makes money, but sometimes, you can make more money doing X, Y, and Z, and sometimes you can make less money, or more money just doing nothing and just saying, hey, dude, I'm just like coasting it out, man. He's going to roll for an hour. I'm not going to give it too bit out of shape. Just because something's slow doesn't mean you have to keep ramping it up. Because like you said, if you start getting faster up, you're going to get way faster down in terms of bankruptcy. So I explained all that in about 20 seconds to Bobby in that order. And then, long story short, next roll 7. I was like, well, there you go, 7, boom. So that's how in one player, because you got to think an extra 1,500 was 750. And then you got to also realize that the 1,500 right there on the original odds was me 3xing the lay bet 4s, which in turn has profit built into that. And then on top of that, you have to understand that the anti-fire bet, don't pass bet progression has loss plus 5. And at 510 with a couple 11s, I probably have $25, $35 in that one as well. So when it all reconciled out, I was like, dude, I'm up 1,000. And like Bobby, I look at him because he had just 200 on the don't pass. It was $1,700 bankroll. And once again, the first shooter for us to gamble with, and this insane rip just happened, he was like, I broke dead even. And, you can take that story saying, well, Bobby should have sat here and did X, Y, and Z, and, he should have took stabs when he can. But you got to understand his bankroll and where he's sitting at, $1,700. What stab can he take? Because once again, he's at 200. That means let's say he's in, if a $200 don't, that means he's in for 195 on the second progression. So his next bet is going to be like $400. And, you're talking about 400, that's 800. He's only got 900 left. So basically his next bet would be all in. So to give you a reference, if you're like, well, he should have been with you and he had $200 on the don't, he should put odds. Okay, let's say he had $200 on the don't and he chooses about 200 and loses that. He's down 600. He's down $600, and he put $600 out of the last 900 that he has on the don't, and then they roll a come out 7. He's swiped, gone. And even if he wasn't swiped, then he swipes it, he puts everything on the don't, and then the point becomes an 8, and you're like, I'm putting my entire livelihood on an 8 after a come out 7. So he was doing what he was supposed to be doing. Now, realistically, he should have been doing loss plus 5 at a low scale, or at least loss plus $1 on the low scale of the don't pass, because at 20, $200, he probably should have had like 15, 16, or no, $15 to $30, like inherently lost plus $5 in there for those levels, because you should be getting benefited from those upper levels. So that was a little bit, but like I said, and then right after him, believe it or not, I think I made $1,000. Oh no, I was at 1,100. Hey Jeff from Murrayville. Hey, Murrayville, Murrayville, Georgia. Let me know, Jeff. Murrayville, Georgia. Um, so in saying that, he did everything he was supposed to do right. Yeah, he could have made like 15, $20, but I mean, at that point, he's a shooter. This always happens to me, and that comes a lot. It's fear, and that's a good thing. You shouldn't sit here and have you should make bets that you're fearful of. How close are you to 400 North, where the Shell and the Home Depot is, Jeff? And in saying that, I was like, okay, well then, we're there for 6 hours. So I told him, I was like, well, I'm up $1,000 automatically. So in my mind, I can spend the next, 10 hours playing conservative as possible and make another $1,000 to $1,500 in however long it takes. And in the next hour and a half, 2 hours, Bobby, if you watch this, comment when it's not live, if I'm right. We sat here and I was like, it just went back and forth, a lot of chops, a lot of stuff like that. And like, it was so choppy, it was so bad. Nothing was going anywhere left or right. You're making 5, 10, 5, lose 5, tie 10, lose 5. And the way you can lose 5 in the DG system is if you're trying to keep it conservative, let's say the points of 5, you put $75, which pays 50 as the don't pass line odds, don't pass by arms, odds. And then like put a $30 6 and 8 out there, and then boom, hits a 7, you're getting paid 50, but you're losing 60. And so that's an easy way to sit here and be like, well, here we go. And so that right there was like, it was a little bit detrimental. 820. But, I digress. And so it was very choppy for a while, and he did make a comment saying, hey, are you going to sit here? There's no way it's 840, guys. But we'll see, do X, Y, and Z. And it was very choppy. He wanted to do bigger bets, and I was like, don't do bigger bets. Keep it small, just chop it and grind it. So then, after an hour and a half, 2 hours, maybe nothing really happening, then it picked back up again, and we started just nickel and diming them. He's trying to make $300. I was pretty much just going to make $1,000, but I was like, let's just keep playing, see how much I can make. And that turned into, basically at the end, kind of funny. I did a long roll. Bobby did a long roll. Zach did a long roll, which is really cool. The cool thing, the only other really big thing that happened was almost toward the end. I was rolling 7, 0.7 out. I rolled 7, come out 7. I turn on for a 156 and 8, and I was like, boop. And the funny thing is that, they put on, and I didn't. I was like, I'm good. I rolled again, boop, knocked it again. I rolled 4, come out 7, so it was 5 7s total. And at that point, I had a $1,200 6 and 8 working with $200 offset past Dewey Don'ts, and then boom, hits a 5. And I was like, all right, well, $3,000 on the don't odds, and I'm gonna roll once to see if I can capture all those come out 7s. And thank God I rolled a 6, and when I rolled that 6, got paid $1,400. I was good to go. And the only other really eventful thing that happened was at the very end, I had so many red chips. I was like, can I get some? My rack is too full. Can I sit here and do that? And they're like, no. And I just said, fine, I'll stack $210 on the don't in reds. And I know a lot of, pass on players or whatever. And I'm just like, hey, man, like pass on players put odds in the back, just like a don't pass player. It's all relative to what we're doing. It happens. And so I put $210 right on the don't, and this Yahoo behind, this kid. There's spring break, there's kids there. And how kids are. I have a firm belief, and now as an old craps player, I'm like, you really shouldn't be young playing craps. And the reason why is that generally speaking, that craps, you need a very I know it sounds weird because I make huge, insane big bets. But you need to have a really patient, mature temperament. I should say you should have a mature temperament to play craps. You have to just not freak out, to stay calm, to stay patient. X, Y, and Z. And that's more of an older person's mentality versus going out there and saying, "I'm going to be rich, press it till the day." So this kid, he said MF, like he said mofo. And I put 210 on the don't, just not even paying attention because I'm on 5 hours of sleep. And he's like, "Hey, mofo, I got you, mofo." And I was like, "Yeah, I guess so." And he's like, "I'm gonna crush that. I'm gonna crush it." And I was like, "I hear you, I hear you." And actually, I didn't say anything. I was just looking down, just like making sure the tower looked good. And I was like, "All right," And by the time I look up, and he's like eyeballing me, he's like, "I'm gonna crush that, man. I'm a professional." I said, they banned me in casinos. And I was like, "Man, you're some 22-year-old with $200, man. I wish you the best. I'm praying for you, man. Like, I want you to just make $1 million. Please don't just make this a bad habit of yours." And so, hey, Jeff Schubert, I didn't see you respond. How close to 400 North next to the Home Depot are you? In saying that, I'm like, whatever, like, hopefully he doesn't take offense. And his first roll off the point was a 7. And he actually hit my tower, and it was a 617. I was like, okay. And after that, and I will say this with like love, is that particular time at Shreveport, there were, a couple characters, and some of the older craps players says, "Hey, this guy's going to panhandle you for chips, but at least you got friends around you, so he's probably going to leave you alone to get a pass. Hey, this guy, is going to try to pickpocket you, so watch out. Hey, you got all these chips on the table, make sure you walk with them because, people will lift chips," stuff like that. So you're like, tools of the trade. So, I colored up, everyone colored up, and so Zach, Lycan36 in the Discord, had, I think, $500 bankroll, and he made like 560 positive. Then we sat here and had me with a $20,000 bankroll. But I have such a big bankroll because I want to do a lot of things, but I always say, what's my effective bankroll? Like, so saying, taking my biggest bet and counteracting it down, what did I essentially play with? And long story short, I played with a $6,000 bankroll and made $2,400. That's pretty much how that panned out. And which is really cool. I like that because that's almost 50% versus the 20%. But I knew, like, yeah, we're taking a break. We're going to do an X, Y, and Z. I geared down my betting to be more conservative and take a bigger hit with less bets in turn. And then Bobby essentially made $300. He took $1,700 and I think made $300. He's supposed to make $340, I think, for like 17 for 20%. But he had a moment where basically I was coloring up, Zach's coloring up, and then Bobby's like, "Man, I need to make $40 more." I'm like, "Stop. No." And like the cool thing is we went to go get dinner because it's like 9:00 at night now. And I said, "You see what I'm talking about? How many times have you started a conversation saying, I just need to make $40 more and then bank out? And this time you didn't. You said, no, I don't need to make $40 more. Let's go. Get it. Get it." So that was really cool. And then basically, went to, had dinner with them. I had water, I think, Lycan36 had country fried steak and mashed potatoes, and I had a fat water because I got to look beautiful for a wedding because I'm engaged now. So I'm on a diet. Ben Parks Road. Cool, man. I got rental property, basically right next to Red Barn. And I only live 15 minutes from the Waffle House on 400 North, right at the end. So it's saying that, we sit here and go, and then we get back in the car, and don't ask me why. I drove from 9 p.m. all the way to 8 a.m. today, no sleep. So, from 10 a.m. Monday to right now, I have received 8 hours total of sleep. So, oof. And whatever. So, and that's the trip update. Everyone made money. Everyone was happy. Bobby was an exponentially, good host. It's kind of funny. And I'm going to end with this because I got to, go die somewhere. He was like, "Thank you so much for driving an extra 6 hours past Shreveport to come talk to me and kind of practice with me at my home, all that stuff." He was so appreciative, and I was like, and I kind of joked around. I was like, "Damn," I was talking to Lycan36 on the way home, and I was like, it's kind of crazy. I was like, "Yeah, I don't see any dice influencers making house calls and then going to the casino." I thought that was kind of funny. And then I started thinking about it. I was like, well, I guess, that is true. I was like, I don't think of it because I'm just like, I don't value my time. So I'm just like, yeah, man, I'll come see you. Screw it. Quick little 2-dayer where I'm driving 24 hours, $200 in gas. Hell, I'll make $2,400, give myself 200. I'm still making, $2,200. So that was pretty cool. And but it was I like the experience because I love talking craps. I love playing craps, and it don't matter whose felt or whose dice that I'm playing on. It's just the same thing. Doesn't matter. And so he was a really good host, but he was really appreciative, and I like that. Sometimes I forget that, like, man, some people, because I just look at it like, hey, man, simple, just do this, this, and this. We're gonna have a good time. I don't need your money because just go make some money. And but it was good. And believe it or not, in talking that, and this is, you didn't Discord me on your drive, Charlie. I talked the whole time. I was talking to Lycan 36 the whole time. That's why I didn't Discord it. And I figured that Lycan would just be so tired of listening to me talk for 12 hours on the way home on the Discord app. So I figured I'd do it now. And but yeah, it was really good. And like I said, it's kind of a weird change of value. I was like, man, I don't look at it like I was helping Bobby out. I was like, dude, man, Bobby's giving me a free place. I get to drink and play craps at his place and a lake house, and then go to Shreveport and make some money. And I was like, dude, that's like a win-win-win. Like, cool, man, let's go do that. And yeah, it just went well. Just everything all in all went well. I'm like a zombie right now because I gotta go to bed. And yeah, like I said, guys, like it was just one of those things that was a good trip. Nothing really. I mean, I had 2 major instances, but that was pretty much it. There's a guy, can't remember, kid, and I told him to look on YouTube. I didn't tell him my name because at this point, when people ask me like, "Oh, how'd you do here?" Well, heck yeah, dude. Well, Jeff, the Inner Circle DGE YouTube meetup, aka 2-day bender at Murphy. In case you guys know, I won't tell you my home address, but you guys show up to Murphy May 6th, the weekend of May 6th. We're gonna be there at night, both all weekend. So we're gonna just be drinking at the house, then shuttling up there. And so Jeff, just hit me up, drunkguyexplains@gmail.com, and dude, just come play craps or cards with me at my house. I'm 15 minutes away from you, man. Maybe 25, because I'm on 9. I'm off 9 on the Dahlonega, Dawson, or I'm Lumpkin, Dawson line. I'm on 9 off there. I got 40 acres. So, and then you can come to the meetup, since you're like right here. And other those 2 instances, there was it was a kid on spring break, and his mother was like, I love this on cruises. I always play the pass line. I don't even know all these bets. And I was like, so I told him to look on YouTube. I see these guys. Hey man, hope you guys appreciate the shots. I bought him. He turned 21 that day, and she was like, yeah, I got him his first beer. And I was like, oh, I'm sure that was his first beer, mister. I'm 6'4" and blonde and cute little kid. And I was like, yeah, I bet you are. That's your first drink, huh? First time ever drinking? And he downed like a green tea shot. His mom downed a green tea shot. And I thought it was so hilarious. So all in all, it was a good trip. I really don't have any issues. I love Bossier City. I think I'm going to start making feet down to the Tampa, Florida one, and the Jacksonville, I think. Something Hard Rock or something. I know someone just talked to me about it, and I was like, yeah, I'll probably come down there and start doing those little driving trips. So that was good. I got to go to Chicago. I think that's my next little driving trip. That's going to be fun. Shout out to old Jonah Stormrider for getting engaged. And yeah, everything's going good, guys. And yeah, what time is it? 6:30, 8:31. That's the trip update. I know I didn't answer a lot of questions, but Jeff said, cool, we'll meet up sometime, go play crap sometime. Heck yeah. St. Louis, Missouri, there you go, old school. But I've had, like I said, 8 hours of sleep since Monday at 10 a.m. So man, that was it. Like, I gotta go spend some quality time with the fiance. So that's gonna be pretty fun. But other than that, guys, man, it was a pleasure. If you watched it, awesome. If you have any questions, comment. If you haven't watched this live, and at the end of the day, guys, I told Bobby, and I'll end with this. I told Bobby, I said, I don't think that you're doing really anything wrong, because he thinks he's always screwing up. And I was like, yeah, you're not really doing anything wrong. I said a lot of it has to do with the mentality of when you're down, you think bigger bets will chunk you back, but it's the same. You should be more conservative when you're down and kind of work its way in, but understand when to take stabs. And then for him, the same thing I tell all you guys is that if you are going to make a bet that's going to make you uncomfortable, to make you unsteady, then it's easier to wait and lose nothing and win small increments than to get too aggressive and always be inspired spots where like I'm gonna have to put $1,000 on a bet. See the mentality there? One costs you infinitely less. And I'm gonna kind of end it with this: is that people ask me sometimes, like, why are you so conservative? You're getting more conservative over time, X, Y, and Z. And the reason why, and this is coming from the heart. Let me get eye to eye to you guys, right with my camera, my iPhone. Okay, let me just get right here with you guys. I'm telling you right now, it is infinitely less stressful to make $200 bets than $2,000 bets. And you will sit here and go through time. And some of y'all won't realize this, some of y'all might. Or some of y'all already realize this and you're learning, and maybe I'm just the dummy dumb here. But I'm telling you guys, like, you can sit here and have heart attacks for 2.5 hours milling around in this 1,000 bet range. Or you can sit back, chill out, and wait just a little longer. You're not talking about long, just a little longer. And make good money and never really get yourself into huge big bet territory. And if you do get in huge bet territory, because you've waited so long, it makes you more confident because you have waited that long and in such an extreme circumstance. And I really do mean that from the bottom of my heart. And that is a hard lesson because some people want to be the fame and the glory and the glitter. And I'm like, guys, I would rather be it's not about the money, it's about my happiness. And I was like, it is infinitely so horrible dealing around with these bets at that level. Because it's not really that bet, it's the next bet or the next bet after that. And you can just avoid all that by just not losing money and waiting and just saying, I'm just gonna wait a little bit longer. When in doubt, wait it out. So, what is this? Dr. Don't Pass watching hoops. Sounds like Bobby needed the personal tutoring to be more conservative at times. And he was conservative, and he really was conservative, David. And it's just, and I say this, every single YouTube meetup that I've ever hosted or, met up with a bunch of people that did my system, I've had $20, $50, $60, $100,000, $10,000, $15,000 bankrolls, which usually eclipse a lot of the bankrolls that come and meet with me. And I'm not saying that as a clout thing or as a way of being egotistical. I'm just putting in perspective that people have come to me playing with $1,800, $2,500, $5,000, $3,000, $1,000 bankrolls playing my stuff. And I'm like, look at the table, guys. There's 5 of us playing. Look at all of our bets. Magical, right? Offsetting passes, don't passes, on and off pucks everywhere. But I was like, look, I have more money than all of y'all on the table. And I am the smallest bet out there. What does that tell y'all? And they laugh, but it's like, man, let's see here. Old school, tell them the truth. You dye your hair to cover the stress of the gray big bet. Wayne, you give us the ability to make a daily paycheck. Waiting is the best advice. It is waiting. And then, and here's the thing. I always say this is the last thing I'll say, but I can argue, and this is me kind of going against the DGE system, but I would argue, Wayne, that a lot of systems that are in craps today, let's just say, the Blender or the Iron Cross, the Dolly Do Parton, the Cuban Boat Missile Crisis, I don't even know. All the little things they have, I would postulate that they would also be infinitely more successful if you waited for a certain instance to start instead of just walking in and saying, start, finish, done. I would think that a lot more systems, not just mine, would be a lot more successful and a lot more fruitful if you just waited a little bit longer in any system, whether it be mine or anyone else's. And that's just my, whatever. And don't you worry about this, guys. It's okay. It's okay being in the South. We got size, we got power, we got time, we got the responsibility, and that's what Southern Grace is all about. Because remember, guys, is that, what was that line? Everyone here's American. I know my metrics. What was it? Oh my God. What is it? American by birth and Southern by the grace of God. So that's just me. All right, I'm out. I'm tired and out, and I don't even know what I'm talking about. I don't even know how long I've been talking. Let's figure out how long I've been talking. Yeah, definitely out. I can just do here. Hey guys, this is Charlie from Drunk Guy Explains. And I'll see you guys hopefully on the table, but if not, I'll see you guys next time. And sleep! God, stress kills animals, guys. Just don't stress.